2. So basically, right, we have this thing called a scientific novel, and it's basically to allow you to explore like a topic that you're interested in with the help of someone that's hopefully a bit more experienced in that topic. So like all you have to do is to like look out for an observation or phenomenon or anything that you're interested in, right? Then just write a report on it. So just for an example, you can just do like a simple experiment at home. Like it can be anything, honestly. Like you could try shining a laser to a bubble and try and explore some of the phenomena that occurs through that, or like I don't know, maybe like do a acid-base reaction or that sort of thing at home, or you can just do a summary of a research done on a topic by reading articles and breaking down the information into easier to understand segments, or just a mix of both. So here's is an example of what you can do, and like basically the report will be broken into a few parts like any research paper, but just simplified in that sense. So the first part will obviously be your observation and hypothesis. So observation is just something that you can see, for example, like the fact that the sky is blue in color. And then your hypothesis or question can be the fact that the sky is blue in color because the air in the sky becomes blue from colorless for whatever reason. So you're trying to justify why you see the observation. Now after that, you can just think about what you already know. So like, for example, I know that air is a gas, and that it's possible for gases to be colored. Like there's chlorine, which is like green, there's bromine, that's orange, and that sort of thing. And I also know that the sky changes color from like blue to orange, red, pink, etc. during sunrise and sunsets. And after that, you start doing research or doing experiment to find out what actually goes on. So we do know that the sky is actually blue because I mean we can see it, but it's not because of the color of the air, but rather because of something called radial scattering, which you can read upon if you're interested. It's actually a pretty cool phenomenon. But yeah, this is basically your research stuff. And then your last part is your sources. So you can just include the links to where you got the information from, because just as it is important to like understand what goes on behind an observation. You also want to make sure that you're reading or getting information from reliable sites. So we'll send you guys the template for doing this later if you want to, and yeah, and you can just tell us like what topics you're interested in and stuff, and we'll obviously be pairing you with a mentor that's in a way, and they'll help you do the assignment. All right, any questions? You can just type it out in the STEM enrichment discussions channel if you do have any. If not, we will just be going on with the actual lesson, which will be about exploding farts, to put it lightly. But yeah. Alright. Maybe I should just continue screen sharing.
Yeah, I think that'll be good.
Alright.
If you don't mind.
Okay. Let's begin. So like this is part of like a 2-lesson series, you guys, you can say, where we look into like some of the scientific abilities of wildlife. So starting off, let's just talk about the admin stuff, which there isn't very much of, and then objectives and future lesson. So the admin stuff, you don't really have to worry about anything for now, but basically just keep on signing up for lessons through the Excel, like the sign up link on the website, and for objectives, we just want to try and like learn a bit more, get exposure to new concepts, so that maybe you can explore things in a different way from how it's taught in school. So moving on, what are we gonna do today? We're gonna look at a few examples of the cool things that animals do. We're gonna look at some high-level concepts in the sciences and math, and learn how to write your own research papers, which we just covered, and yeah, look at somewhat questionable memes. Alright, you guys can take it over from here.
Okay, so today we are going to look at this beetle called the bombardier beetle. So that's like lesson 1, and then you can see the topics for the future lesson. So next lesson will be about like fire ants, how they build like really cool structures, like rafts to like float across water, or like the architecture of like some of the structures that ants form. So but today we're talking about bombardier beetle, and specifically the explosive farts. So why they're explosive, why they're hot, and like really what's in the fart, it's not really a fart, but like the gas that the gas that it releases. Yeah, what's in there and why
It's
it's
something like a
effective.
bomb, right?
Yeah. Okay, so if you're curious that this is how it releases the gas, and it's really fast because this is it's slowed down by a lot. Yeah. So that's how the beetle releases the gas. Yeah, it's a defense mechanism against like threats. In this case, ants. You can watch it again. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool beetle. Yeah. Okay, so if you look at the video, there are some characteristics of like the beetle spray. So, firstly, it's toxic. Secondly, it's explosive, and it's really fast, and it's also really hot. So, given these are the characteristics of the beetle spray, how can we explain these characteristics? Yeah, which are and there are some concepts involved in that we can learn from. Yeah. Okay. So
So,
yeah, okay, Baron, go.
okay. So basically, it's the combination of two chemicals because a lot of the things that we observe around us, it happens as a result of chemical reactions. So in this case, the reactants are hydrogen peroxide, which is in the top left. Maybe actually you can like put your cursor there. Yeah, hydrogen peroxide is like a more simple molecule, and the other molecule is hydroquinones, which is on the right. Yep. So basically, when both of these chemicals react together in a chamber in the beetle's body, there's a reaction that takes place, which is sped up by a catalyst. And after the reaction takes place, a lot of heat is generated, and the very hot gas is ejected from the body of the beetle, which is why it harms the ants, which you saw in the video. Yeah.
So in this case, you can see, if you compare the hydroquinone to the benzoquinone, which is the product of the reaction, you can see there's a difference of hydrogen. Like you can, actually you can like wave your cursor. Like there's a removal of a hydrogen atom, and usually this is an oxidation reaction, where there's a removal of a hydrogen atoms or, for example, addition of O atoms. Yeah. Because we don't really know like the. Have you seen like these molecules before? Like this kind of structure. Do you think do you understand like what like each line represents, for example, or like what each node represents? Like just like um
You can just type it out if you
like
want
have
to
you
sound.
seen, yeah. Because we can explain to you about the molecules if you're interested.
Hmm. And like, there's another question for you guys to ponder, right? It's like, why is it that H2O2 is useful for kickstarting reactions in that sense? There's like a feature of the molecule itself that you guys can think about. And yeah, you can just type out answers. Like, don't be afraid of getting it wrong. The entire purpose of this is so that you can ask any kind of question you want, compared to like normal school, I guess. So like, please just, just like try and type it out if you want to, of course. But yeah, we'll give you guys a minute to think about that. Like, whether you understand whatever we have covered so far, and like, why is it that H2O2 is so good at kickstarting reactions? Okay, but anyway, I'll just start talking about the hydrogen peroxide thing. Oh, wait a sec. Yeah, let's think about why H2O is unstable. Like, we're gonna try and cover the stuff that you guys maybe won't be able to do so in class. Like let's look at the structure of H2O2. Like, what's special about it? Like, what gives a peroxide? Like, what causes something to be a peroxide? It's your O single bond, right? And like, something interesting about the O single bond is that normally when like we compare double bonds to single bonds, your double bonds are usually like less than twice the bond energy of a single bond. Like, you do you know this as well? Have you learned this in school? Like, we just want to make sure that we are at the right pace. You can PM me as well if it's better for you. But anyway, like, normally we see like, for let's just say carbon carbon single bonds versus carbon carbon double bonds, right? We notice that your CC double bonds are less than twice the bond energy of a CC single bond. But in this case, right, the O bond is just really weak, and it's so weak that it's just super easy to break down and like just start a reaction, which is why it's used in stuff in like a lot of oxidation reactions in that sense. And yeah, you can think about why is it that the O single bond is so weak, like less than half of a O double bond. And if you know the answer, you can just send it to me and I'll tell you whether or not you're correct. But anyway, moving on.
See the stream. Ayo. Okay, wait, never mind. Is this still on the same slide, right?
It looks like it, yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay, it's back. Okay. Yeah, so this is an oxidation reaction, and essentially, yeah, you have removal of two H atom. Yeah. So, I'm not sure if I mean the previous time we did the lesson, we also talked about like the naming of like benzoquinone and like how we assign the relative positions of the substituents, which is a methyl group in this case. Have you done that before? Like have you learned it or like came in contact with it before? Because it's quite a cool the way they rename molecules. Okay, maybe not. Should we go through it? I don't know.
I think you guys can just skip it for now because it's not that important.
Okay,
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
Okay, but yeah, so essentially in this reaction, you can see that there's this plus catalase thing, and that's a catalyst. It's an enzyme. It's the name of an enzyme, and we'll be covering this a bit more in depth later. Okay, so next. Achijo.
Yeah, okay. So basically, as Chloe mentioned, right, you add the catalyst as something to speed up the reaction. Because when when the chemicals are mixed inside the beetle's body, it doesn't have a lot of time to react to its enemy. So this reaction needs to take place very fast. So how does the decomposition of the H2O2 and hydroquinone happen at a fast rate? And at the same time, how does it not react inside the beetle's body? Because if the chemicals mix and reaction just takes place anytime, then it could be quite dangerous for the beetle. So the beetle needs to control when the reaction takes place, uh, exactly when its enemies are nearby.
Yeah, if not, Beetle go boom and get free lunch. Okay, but yeah.
So catalyst, I think we mentioned a few times already, lah, but we'll explain it in greater detail now. So basically, the chemicals that we mentioned before is stored in one chamber of the beetle's body, and when the beetle wants to protect itself by attacking the ants, the catalyst itself will be added to the chemicals. So when the catalyst is not with the chemicals, the reaction doesn't take place, or it takes place too slowly. So the reaction isn't too hot and the beetle doesn't go boom. But when the catalyst is added, the reaction is sped up. It's much faster than it would happen normally, which is why uh, it produces a lot of heat.
And one more thing, like something interesting, like we aren't really gonna cover today is like about how like the thing works at like a microscopic level. Like the way enzymes work at that microscopic level between like collisions and stuff is really cool, and it's something you guys can look up further or just ask us questions about. But yeah, like even like the simplest of things get like really complicated, and that's what we're trying to like do. Like we want you guys to just think more deeply about things in general. Like don't stop at the point where you guys are taught about things in school. Like ask yourself why, because you realize it can go pretty far down the rabbit hole. But yeah, moving on. Okay.
Yeah, just to add on, it's just like to enhance your learning. It's just for fun now. So you can just search up whatever you want to know more about. Yeah. Okay. So catalyst speeds up the rate of reaction without itself being used up in the reaction. So because of this property, uh, even when you have a very small amount of catalyst inside the beetle, it speeds up the reaction very quickly. So the catalyst doesn't get used up, and the reactants are reacted with each other very quickly, which results in the explosive action of the gas. So the mechanism with which the catalyst speeds up the reaction is by reducing activation energy. Do you guys know what activation energy is in reactions? Maybe you can type in the chat or just say something if you know what activation energy is. Shall we just explain?
I think we'll cover it, I think, at the last few slides. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, we'll explain more in depth for EA over there. Yeah.
Okay, this one. So, you can think of activation energy as going up the hill. So, when you want to react the hydrogen peroxide and the hydroquinone together, the reactants have to sort of go up the hill before they can form the product. So, what the catalyst does is that it makes the hill lower for the reaction to take place. So, if you have to climb a lower hill, then uh, of course your chance of climbing the hill becomes higher, so the chance of the reaction taking place becomes higher, and then more of the reactants are able to collide successfully. So this results in
Yeah, just to answer your question about whether the catalyst gets consumed after the reaction. So what happens is that the catalyst is basically chemically unchanged before and after the reaction. So if you start off with like a certain compound like XYZ, right? You might turn into like X, Y, and Z temporarily within the reaction, but at the end of it, it'll be back to XYZ. So technically it doesn't get consumed, but the thing is that they do have to separate the catalyst, right? So what happens in like labs and stuff is that they'll probably have a separate reaction or a step involving the removal of a catalyst by exploiting like maybe differences in solubilities for like polar and non-polar solutions and that sort of thing. So the catalyst doesn't quite get consumed, but it is used up during the reaction itself, and then it just regenerates. So yeah, why don't we just continue?
okay. uh Actually someone just joined, so just hi. We're talking about like catalysts and how to speed up reactions, and how two compounds react in a beetle's body to act as a defense mechanism. Yeah. Do you Andrew?
Wait, what?
Next slide.
Okay, next
Or
slide.
do you want? Shall we go to the next slide?
Yeah. So like catalase is just one of like the many enzymes that exist in the whole world. So generally, if you see things that end with ASE, they're generally like enzymes, and they're actually like proteins that act as biological catalysts. So a key thing to note in general about like enzymes is that it's highly specific to the substrate. The substrate is like what the enzyme acts upon. So the shape of the enzyme is like very specific and very complementary to the shape and charge of the substrate in this case. So if you can see like in this molecular model like shown there, basically the whole block you see is the catalase, and that little pink area that is labeled active site is the area where H2O2 will bind to, and then after that and then the catalase will break down H2O2. So in this case, this catalase will only bind to H2O2 because it can only fit H2O2's shape, if you think about it. Yeah, it's like a lock and key in a way. It's very highly specific to that specific molecule. And so generally it's a general rule across all enzymes that they are like specific to the substrate. So a question to think about is why? Like why do enzymes need to be specific? And like why is it important that they are specific? Yeah. So that's a good question to think about. And because in the functioning of any like biochemical process in our bodies require enzymes, and many metabolic pathways require enzymes. So why must they be specific? Yeah. And another question also is how are they specific? So like how do proteins achieve that 3D conformation that is specific to that only substrate? Yeah. So these are some questions that yeah, which actually have a whole lot of like information and like answers too, and it's good to think about. Yeah. Okay, so another feature of like the spray is that it's really hot. So can you imagine this tiny beetle like able to generate like hot, like boiling water temperature spray in a matter of like less than like a few seconds? It's pretty insane if you think about it. Yeah, like our kettles take at least a minute or so to boil, like water, but this beetle can spray like gas and heat it up to 100 degrees. So it's pretty amazing feat if you put it in perspective. Yeah. So what and how? Yeah.
Wait, bro, you have a super kettle. My kettle takes like 5 minutes. Okay, maybe I'm just broke. Anyway,
Yeah. But it's insane. The beetle's insane. Yeah.
yeah, never before have.
Yeah. So essentially the ant is doused with like boiling hot gas that is toxic as well. Yeah, because benzoquinone is toxic.
And they-
Next.
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but that poisonous gas will leave me dead. Okay.
Yeah, so the heat generator is as a result of this a type of reaction called exothermic reactions. Yeah. Varun, you can.
Yeah. So, exothermic reactions are basic reactions that do this. Is given on the right, so it's combustion. So whenever you burn something, I'm sure you've experienced it. It feels quite hot, and it's an example of an exothermic reaction. So, heat exo release a lot of heat, and um, not sure if you might know this, but acids and bases when they react together, they also produce funny. That's why we would maybe wouldn't know that it's an exothermic reaction. So very rapidly with oxygen in the air. And when you react with oxygen, it's commonly known as rusting. And it can be used as a very effective heat pack. In a matter of seconds, it can heat up very quickly for you to use.
Yeah, you guys also want to think about like what is it that acid-base reactions are specific, like, or neutralization reactions are, and the exothermic. So fundamentally, right, when we talk about neutralization, by definition, neutralization is like the addition of H plus and OH minus to form water. So if you look at that reaction, you're basically just forming a bond, and we know that bond breaking, or we'll learn soon enough that bond breaking is endothermic, while bond forming is exothermic. So it's like it's all about stability in that sense. And basically, what's happening is that the bond that we are forming to make H2O is causing the H2O is causing like an overall change in stability of the system to something that's more stable. Because like instead of having two floating ions, you have something like a H2O molecule, which is more stable and it's signified. And again, it's like okay, I'm repeating myself, but you can basically see it by the fact there's an exothermic reaction. So yeah, next slide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably kind of intuitive, but yes, there's an opposite to exothermic reaction, which is endothermic reaction. So these reactions reactants absorb energy. It means that the products have more energy than the reactants themselves. So I think this is better shown in the diagram on the next page. The graph on it. Okay, it's not on the next page, but it's
Okay.
it's somewhere later, right?
Yeah.
I think we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yes, when we get there.
We'll get there when we get there.
Yeah. All right. So
So to link the two ideas together, right? Am I cutting out?
a bit, but to link the two, I just together we literally have a bridge. A bridge. Okay, I tried to be funny there, but anyway, maybe I'll just do this part for a bit. So yeah, so
Okay.
bonds are like a bridge between two atoms, and the stronger the bond, the stronger the bridge. So like basically, right, we want to break the bridge, aka the bond. What do? We shake the bridge, we shake the crap out of the bridge until it vibrates to a point where it just collapses in the dust. If you watched any like Hollywood, like any action-packed movies or like any of those like thriller movies with like I don't know what's the director called, the one with like a lot of Michael Bay. Yeah, you've probably seen a bridge being destroyed. It's the same principle here. You just want to like pump a lot of energy into the bridge until it starts shaking like crazy and then it breaks. But when we build the bridge, right, we want to make things more stable so that like cars or like the electrons can now drive across the bridge without having to jump across. So yeah, this releases energy, which causes it to be like exothermic. So basically what we're trying to say is that when we go from something that's less stable to more stable, we are making an exothermic reaction. We need like an exothermic reaction sort of, and when we're going from like something that's less more stable to less stable, we want an endothermic reaction. Yes. All right. Next slide.
Is my audio better now?
Yep.
Slightly.
Or am I still cutting out?
A bit, but just go for it.
Okay, I'll try.
Okay.
So, I think we previously like the reaction exothermic produces a lot of heat, literally burning, and since it produces so much heat, it means that we react quickly, and the heat released from forming the bonds is more than the energy needed to break water reactants. Then they release from forming the product. In a sense, the products are more stable.
Okay, but anyway, what Warren says is basically that the products of the reaction are more stable, which is why it
Next
heats up
slide.
after a lot. Yeah. Alright, so this is the
Go to the
famous
top.
graph. So yeah,
Yeah, so in
basically,
this case, sorry. Oh, okay. Yeah, so in this case, the products have a higher energy level than the reactants because energy is absorbed, right, in the endothermic reaction. And in this case, like, so the activation energy is marked by EA. And when delta H is something that like we use to decide like whether to tell us whether a reaction is endothermic or exothermic. So in this case, delta H, which is like the triangle H, is a positive value, which means it's endothermic. Yeah. So it's like if you're interested, you can like read more about like delta H and yeah, endothermic and exothermic reactions. Okay, yeah.
or you can just like ask us because I will
Yeah.
literally talk to you about chemistry for days. Anyway, why should we care about these types of reactions if you're not doing chemistry? The thing is that like a lot of things in science, even if they seem kind of abstract, play important roles in your life. But like even if we don't use them in like products directly like ice packs or heat packs, we need to take note of certain requirements to designing something. For example, if you want to become an engineer, like for automobile engineering, right? You need to take account about like how hot the engine of a car can get, from exothermic reactions like combustion to account for stuff like how it deals with heat stress and all that to make sure your engine doesn't just explode when you're driving the car, because that would be disastrous. Can you imagine like your car engine just exploding in the middle of the road? Like I sure can't, because engineers. And that man looks happier than me right now, and that makes me sad. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it for this lesson. So this is the part where you can ask us questions and humor us with riddles. Yes.
Yes.
You can just type it out in the general chat or any of the text channels. You can just ask us anything. You can ask us, you can talk to us about the assignment as well. Like, you can just let us know what topic you want to do for the assignment, and we'll assign a tutor for you who will be the shining light in your life for as long as you need to do the thing. So yeah,